Hi, everybody. It's Maxine Taylor with another Trumpology report. And today I'm going to share the solar charts of two candidates for governor of Georgia. It's a very tightly contested race, and it's very, very interesting. The contest is between Stacey Abrams and Kemp. I have the names written down there because I don't want to make any mistakes on them. Unfortunately, I only have their month, day, and year of birth, and of course the city where they were born. If you happen to have Stacey's accurate birth time or Kemp's accurate birth time, please let me know and I will do an updated version of this particular video. Many of you know that without an exact birth time, the chart is not predictable the way a birth time would be. And you know that I love doing diurnal charts because they predict very accurately the outcome of a particular political race. So I am incredibly frustrated because I can't tell you who's going to win this race. We're just going to have to wait and see. What I do have is the solar chart for each of them. And I'm going to share it with you, and I'm going to give you some of the factors that are playing into the race that may be of help to one of the candidates. All right, let's start with Stacey Abrams. Now, she was born December 9th, 1973 in Madison, Wisconsin. She lives in Atlanta. She has I'm not going to go into their bios. You can look that up online. She has an illustrious career helping people in a governmental position. She has achieved mightily. So let's just talk about this chart. I'm going to tell you what each of the planets represent. Some of you already know this. And then I'll go into the future. Well, first of all, with a solar chart, I cast it for, well, I don't even cast it. I put 0 degrees on all the cusps, and I use the sun sign as the solar ascendant. So she has Mercury, the planet of communication, in Sagittarius. Now, those of you, she has Mercury in Sag, Neptune in Sag, and the Sun in Sag, as well as the North Node in Sag. We know Sagittarius is a very honest, very shoot from the hip, tell it like it is kind of sign. They love freedom, they love truth, and they've got a great sense of humor. Very philosophical sign. So with Mercury in Sag, she sees the big picture. She understands that what's best for the individuals or for the group is good for the whole. And that is amplified by her Venus and Jupiter in Aquarius. And I just jumped ahead, so I'll back up to the solar first house. Okay, so she, with planets in our first house, we think about ourselves. In a solar chart, everybody's solar chart has the sun in the first house, which is what makes us earthlings so egocentric when we look at a solar chart. Everybody is born that way, okay? So she is a talker, she's a communicator. Then she has Neptune, conjunct Mercury. Now, Neptune is the dreamer, the one who is inspired, the idealist. Neptune is the one who can bring a vision into reality. It also spaces us out. We all have Neptune somewhere in our charts, right? And this is where we escape, where we dream big dreams. Well, it's conjunct Mercury, so she's got these great dreams. She is then a visionary. Her sun, the center of her solar system, is in her first house in Sag. It is conjunct Neptune also. And so she is an idealist. You may have met people with Neptune in their charts very prominently who seem to be listening to a distant melody. Yeah, they are. Neptune is divine inspiration or space city. It just depends on who the person is, what their mood is, what their programming is. And so she can be idealistic. And you might say, well, what's wrong with that? And my answer would be nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. Now she's got the north node right behind that second cusp, but it is not conjunct the sun. And the north node is that area of life where you find your greatest fulfillment and success. So right behind the second cusp is the ability to create money. Now, somebody in public office probably would love to have that particular position. It's a solar chart. So here again, her values, very important. There's the north node and was on the second cusp of money and values and possessions. Okay, let's move into the third house. This is communication, correspondence, transportation. It's how we think. Oh, I forgot to add one thing. With the sun conjunct Neptune, the father figure in her childhood taught her to be an idealist, to dream big dreams, or to escape. Her track record indicates that this is not a person who escapes. This is the one who dreams big dreams. Okay, now back to, and I base that on her track record. That's the only thing I'm basing it on, because she has proven to have that type of, I have a dream and I'm going for it vision. Now, Venus and Jupiter are the two benefics. They're the good guys. She has both of them in Aquarius. And you know, Aquarians think that what's good for the group is good for the individuals within the group. With Venus, love, and Jupiter, truth, this is how she sees things. This is truth to her. And she has basically a very loving, positive attitude. And Jupiter is joy and optimism. So this is the type of person who sees the glass as half full rather than half empty. And can be very eloquent, would be a wonderful teacher, a wonderful communicator. She has Mars in Aries in her fifth house. Now, wherever Mars is, that's what you throw yourself into. This is the area of children, of games, of fun, of enjoyment. And so in public service, she would do well looking at the solar chart, dealing with children and helping to create more venues that provide enjoyment and entertainment for people. She thinks in terms of the masses. Now, because we do not have a birth time for her, the moon is in Gemini, but we don't know what degree. Gemini is the multitasker, the communicator. With the moon in the seventh house, she is able to get out there and deal one-on-one with people. If you have the moon in your seventh house, you know that you love a one-on-one situation and that people are attracted to you for that. With Gemini, with the lunar placement being Gemini, she is an idea person. With Venus and Jupiter in her third house, mega ideas, big ideas. The problem can be that because they're in Aquarius, she is ahead of her time. The communicator, the practical one who tells it like they see it, both of these placements. Now her south node is behind the eighth house cusp, so that there can be issues over joint finances, there can be issues over currency, there can be issues over sex, over any type of secret. She is the person who in the past, in past lives, unearthed secrets. So this is very natural for her to do that. She is a person with 3 planets in Sagittarius, so she's going to speak the truth when she sees it. Her best bet financially is to work independently. Now she has, going back to the moon in the seventh house, again, it's a solar chart. With the moon in the seventh house, her mother's message to her is get out there and be in a one-on-one relationship. Very often when I see this in someone's chart, I tell them that mommy's message is get married, get married, get married. Nowadays, it's not necessarily marriage, but it's certainly partnership. In her 8th house, she has Saturn. That represents the older authority figures in her life, the should and ought to relatives. And Saturn can be fear very often. Saturn in the 8th is the fear of the unknown, but Saturn makes it real, tangible. And so she will get to the bottom of secrets of the unknown. Powerful. And it does show that in this lifetime, she will be able to get through any fears that she might have relating to the unknown, because after all, she's Sag, the adventurous. See how the charts balance out? Now, the next and final group of planets are her karmic group planets. Pluto and Uranus in Virgo. Excuse me, I'm sorry, it's in Libra. Yes, need my glasses. But her karmic group is Pluto and Uranus and Libra. Let me tell you about this. First of all, the 11th house is the humanitarian. She has Venus and Jupiter in Aquarius. The 11th house is Aquarius's natural house in the natural zodiac. So this person, if this were her birth chart, it's her solar chart, but if this were her birth chart, I would invite her to do what is best for the whole. Very often when I see Uranus prominent in a chart, I know that this is somebody who is way ahead of their time, and trying to get those ideas across to the people can be frustrating because they see the far horizon. Sagittarius sees the far horizon. Aquarius, 11th house, sees the far horizon. So she's doing what is best for the whole. Pluto represents the matriarch in the family, the controlling female that says be in control if you're involved in a group. When you have evolved to a certain point, you quit controlling and you transform the group. So Pluto wants to keep things balanced and the same way they are. Pluto doesn't want the balance. Being in Libra wants the balance. And Uranus, the rebel, which normally rules that 11th house, is also in Libra. And fortunately, Pluto and Uranus are not anywhere near each other. They're not conjunct in her chart. But what it shows is she is attracted to very unique people, very unique groups, and there is a part of her that is willing to implement revolutionary, unique, way ahead of her time ideas, bring about intervention and invention and transformation in any group with which she is associated. So this is very, very interesting. I found it fascinating, and I still wish I had the birth chart. Okay, now let's go over to Brian Kemp's chart. And again, the only thing I know about him, as well as Stacey, is what I've seen in both of their ads. Same thing you've seen, unless you've been to some of their meetings and you've had a chance to talk to them one-on-one. I have not. Now, very, very interesting. Brian was born in Athens, Georgia, and his birthday is November 2nd, 1963. What's so interesting to me is that in his solar chart, he too has Uranus and Pluto in his 11th house, but because of the year he was born, they are in Virgo. So he's part of that 60s group of Uranus and Pluto. Now his are conjunct. Stacey's are not, but I'm getting ahead of myself. He is a Scorpio. Scorpio is totally different from Sagittarius. Sagittarius is out there telling the truth. Scorpio is, in my opinion, the most powerful sign in the entire zodiac. Scorpio deals with secrets. They unearth secrets. The only thing that Scorpio needs, and I'm sure does, master in this lifetime is the tendency to say to themselves, I won't get angry. I'll get even. It's very important for Scorpio people not to seek revenge. Life has a way of handling things. For a Scorpio, it's all or nothing. That's how they feel about things. If you are a Scorpio or have a Scorpio ascendant or moon in Scorpio or a packed 8th house, which is Scorpio, you know what I'm talking about. It's all or nothing. It's life or death. There's an intensity there that says I have to be in control for fear of being annihilated. And the highly evolved Scorpio is the phoenix, rising on its own ashes, reinventing itself, soaring like the phoenix of lore, mythical bird of yore and lore. So let's talk about his first house. Well, of course, the sun in Scorpio is in the first house. And Mercury, so he is truly a Scorpio, of course. Mercury is in Scorpio, so he thinks like a Scorpio. He thinks in terms of, what do you really want? What are you really saying? What are you really not saying? He will think of ways of getting the job done that he keeps to himself. There's a lot of privacy involved in the Scorpio. They may be talkative, they may be affable, but if you ask them a direct question, they are going to, well, I always say, if you say to Scorpio, where are you going? They say, I'll be back in 10 minutes. That wasn't what you asked. You asked them where they were going. Can you see how they don't share secrets? All right, I get that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because that means if you want to share something with a Scorpio, they will keep it confidential. All right. His Sun and Mercury are conjunct. They're right on top of each other. And this means very often they're only 1 degree apart. It's hard to get away from yourself. You can be very wrapped up in your own ideas. Now, those ideas may be very powerful ideas. See, it's neither good nor bad, it just is. Moving along, he has Neptune conjunct his Sun, just like Stacey has. And this represents the father figure who was either a divine inspiration or escaped, one way or the other, because Neptune is nebulous and nefarious. It's either divine inspiration or wishful thinking or just checking out. I do think that from what I've seen in his ads, that what Brian has going for him is that dream that he wants to put into action. And sitting by itself, it is not close enough really to be conjunct Neptune, is Venus in Scorpio. Now, Venus is love, and in Scorpio, it is very, very powerful. It's all or nothing. They demand absolute loyalty. And so all of these planets indicate how he feels about himself. He loves himself. He's inspired. He's going to do his own thing. He's going to listen to his own ideas. And again, you might say, well, what's wrong with that? With nothing. That's just what it is. How he uses it, that's a whole nother story. Now, he has Mars in the second house in Sagittarius, which is very, very interesting. It doesn't conjunct Stacey's Sun, but it does conjunct her Mercury and her Neptune. I'm an astrologer. I can't help it. I'm always comparing charts mentally. Wherever Mars is what comes first to you, and money comes first to him. Money is it. If you have, even if it's a solar chart, if you have Mars in the second, you put money first. You use money to get what you want. You can make it and you can spend it. It's a constant flow, which is terrific. That's what you want, is the constant flow. South Node in the third house. Well, this means that a lot of his ideas he is repeating time and again. Wherever the South Node is what you have mastered in past lives. This deals with ideas. The opposite is the North Node. It's where your success lies. If the third house is ideas, the ninth house is concepts, the big picture. And if he will see that, it will get him away from the intensity of the Scorpio. He learned very early either to speak very traditionally, very practically, because the South Node is in Capricorn, or to be quiet, because he thinks traditionally. He's got Capricorn on that cusp. So there's a conservative approach to his thinking. Saturn, the planet of reality, and the planet representing the should and ought to relatives, the older relatives, is in his fourth house of home and family. It's in Aquarius. And so there is it's a combination of traditional and non-traditional approach to home and family. And this particular relative, whoever that was, usually it's a grandparent who shows up as Saturn, though not necessarily every time, said you need to respond to your ability as a leader in the family. He has Jupiter in Aries in his sixth house. Now, Jupiter is the great benefic. And so Jupiter rules truth, and there is a certain desire to create truth in his job. But it indicates that there is an abundance of work. Excuse me, I've got all these things popping up. There we go. Jupiter in his sixth house, a lot of work, and the expansion of work. So lots of work. His work can grow. Maybe more than one business. I don't know what he does, besides his government job, of course. Now, he too has the moon in his solar seventh house. So mommy said, get married, get married, get married. But because we don't know his birth time, it's either in Taurus or Gemini. Interesting. Stacey's moon is in Gemini. Brian's moon is in either Taurus or Gemini, and he is emotionally and instinctively attracted to the one-on-one relationship, the public, which is super terrific. We talked about the North Node. Now, again, the 11th house makes him a disguised Aquarian. And so the same thing I said about Stacey's 11th house, I'm going to say about Brian's, which is in groups, he's very innovative, and at the same time, he wants to have control. It's the fear of losing control is very strong because it's the whole karmic group, all of you born in the 60s who have the Uranus-Pluto conjunction in Virgo, or in the 70s who have it in Libra, more so I think in Virgo. If you're going to blow up, and this Pluto rules Scorpio, so you can see that there is a very powerful similarity there between the 1st and the 11th. They're playing off of each other, so to speak. They're amplifying each other. Scorpio and Pluto know that if they're going to lose their temper, for example, it's going to be annihilation. They're going to handle the other person. It's going to be all or nothing, a fight to the death, so to speak. So they want to be in control of themselves. Again, the Phoenix represents Atlanta. Atlanta is the Phoenix city. It rose on its ashes after the Civil War. It rebuilt. And look at it now. It's a fabulous international city. And so he's innovative and inventive in groups. And of course, the matriarch said, be in control. Now, that's the solar reading. So I looked to see what might possibly give me an indication one way or the other of who might win this race. And I still am not betting on either one, because I can't do my diurnal chart, which I adore, and which tells it every single time. But I can tell you what's going on. elections, the midterms, are on the 6th. We're in the dark of the moon on the 6th. That means the energy tends to be low. I doubt that the energy is going to be all that low. This is a very intense time for our world, and people are getting out there and voting. If they have to walk, they're getting to the polls. Many people have already sent in their absentee ballots so they can sit back and wait for the count to come in. The very next day, on November 7th, is the new moon. And that's when energy starts moving forward. Now, the new moon is in 15 degrees of Scorpio. Who's got Scorpio all over his chart? Brian. This new moon, need his chart. This new moon sits, I'll show you where it is in his chart, right on his Neptune. It falls in his first house of him. That doesn't mean the person's going to win the election, but Neptune can be the dream, and this can be the dream come true. His birthday is November 2nd. His solar return is either November 1st, November 2nd, or November 3rd. That's the day that the sun returns to its exact place to the minute in your birth chart. Boy, do I wish I had a birth time on this guy. Not only could I do his solar return, I could do his diurnal. Because the solar return, the power of the sun, is lighting up his whole first house, that might be an indication. It might be. And the new moon sits on his Neptune, pulling in all these other planets. Actually, Venus doesn't get pulled in per se. Let me look at the degrees. No, Venus is in 26 of Scorpio, but it sits on his Neptune. And so this can be the fulfillment of a dream. Now, again, I can't give you a prediction because I don't have the exact time. Looking at Stacey's chart, let me get her chart again. Here we go. She has that same first house that Brian has. However, the new moon is in her 12th solar house of behind-the-scenes activities and pulling back. Now, you might say, well, if she wins, she's tired. She's probably going to pull back. And that's the truth. Again, this is a solar chart. So looking at it, I would say this is more solitude, privacy, pulling back. In Brian's, it's expressing himself, being out there. I wish I could give you more information. It's very frustrating for an astrologer to have to do solar charts. But I wanted to share this with you because this is all we've got, and I didn't want to hold back the solar chart. If anybody out there, as I said, knows either a family member, they've looked at the birth certificate or in a baby book, or they've spoken to the candidate, if you have a birth time on either one of these people, if you let me know, I will give you credit. I'll announce your name all over the world on my YouTube channel, and I'll redo the charts. If not, we're going to wait until Wednesday and maybe Thursday. So it's a very exciting time right now. And I look forward to more videos for you. In fact, there's one I'm probably going to do tomorrow that I think you'll find interesting. So Until we meet again, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours. Bye for now.